a good ball. The flag stays down. Heaney! Oh!
They scored again! It's Davis again! It's job done now.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Northern Ireland podcast. Today is a big day for the podcast as we get our first guest who features in our opening credits. Gerry Armstrong is with us.
Thanks very much. I'm looking forward to it. Haven't done a podcast before with the IFA. I've done one years ago with the Spanish Football La Liga. Terry Gibson and John Driscoll used to do the podcast every week. And it was a lot of fun and it's becoming more and more popular.
So I hope you've got your memory cap on.
Yeah, always keep a memory cap on. When you're a commentator, co-commentator, you have to remember a lot of things.
So we're going to go just from the start and make our way through. So you made your debut in 1977 in a 5-0 defeat against West Germany.
Yep.
What was the process in that happening? How much did that mean to obviously make your debut for Northern Ireland?
I had been in the squad before. We played Israel in a friendly match. I think it was a year before that. I'd only just joined Tottenham about 6 or 8 months, and I played on the Saturday in the reserves. And Terry Neal phoned me at 6 o'clock. He was my manager at Tottenham, and he said, "Right, you've been selected to join the international squad for a friendly match in Tel Aviv." He said, "Be at Heathrow Airport at 10:30 tomorrow morning. Bring your passport." That was it. So I went with Chris McGrath, who was my roommate. Chris and I went to the airport, joined the squad, and away we went. And went to Israel. And I'm not sure if Jimmy Nicholl maybe made his debut in that one, but Jimmy was in the squad. He had just come through. He was breaking through at the same time. And it was an interesting game because we finished 1-1. And Warren Feeney, who was playing for Glentoran at the time, that's the father of the younger Warren Feeney, who played for Northern Ireland. Warren played his only game for Northern Ireland and scored. So he's played one and scored one. He had a great left foot. He played in the left wing. I sat on the bench, never came on. So that was my first introduction. And then Danny Blanchflower took over from Dave Clements. Dave Clements was the manager then, and Danny had a couple of seminars in the Stranmillis College and brought a lot of players together to have a look at them. And I was there, and then it was the squad for the 78 World Cup, the qualifiers. We were the same group as Holland, and I went to Coventry with the squad and trained with them. There was a group of 24 went, and then he reduced it down to 18. So I was in the group of 24. And they went off to Rotterdam, and George Best was in that squad, which was something special for me because he was my boyhood hero. And we drew 2-2 with the mighty Dutch, who went on obviously to play and get beaten in the World Cup final in 1978. And then my debut was against West Germany, who were world champions at the time. And Danny called me the day before and told me he was going to play. It was going to be my debut, and he said, I'm looking forward to it. And I thought, I'm playing up front with George Best. I couldn't believe it, so I thought, I've died and gone to heaven. And we played him, and George was sensational for 45 minutes. And we played really well in the first half, and in the second half, they just totally overpowered us and come off. I think 15-20 minutes from the end, and Danny said to me, "Well done, son." He said, "Tell you now," he said, we were thinking we were 3-0 down at the stage, and I was gutted, obviously, you're 3-0 down. He said, "You had a much better debut," he says, "than I did, son." He said, "Well done." And I was thinking, "Oh, well, that's not bad." So that was my start, and I didn't play again, I think, until the following October when we played Belgium in a World Cup qualifier at Windsor Park. That was my first home game for Northern Ireland, and I played and scored twice in that game in the qualifier, and it was a bit special actually. They beat Belgium 3-0, and I scored one at one end and one at the other end. A right foot and a left foot shot, and that was me off and running.
And then so just moving on to 2 years later, a historic game you played in the first game between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah. First game was down in Dublin. We drew 0-0. Wasn't many chances. On paper they had a better team than us. If you look at Liam Brady, David Leary, Frank Stapleton, they had some brilliant players, but we were a really good outfit. It was a team of 11 players who were sort of well organised and fought hard for each other. We were a bit of a force, and finished 0-0. There wasn't many chances, and I think it was Don Gibbons had one good chap in the first game that finished 0-0, and Pat Jennings made a brilliant save. And then the second game was much the same. It was a tight game. There wasn't many chances, but Sammy Nelson, who was our left back, went down the left hand side. And he's all left foot, Sammy, and he went across the ball and then he checked back on his right foot and he whipped the ball in with his right foot, so it was a different type of trajectory. And the goalkeeper was coming for it, and I was going for it as well, and I knew I was going to get there first. And I managed to get my head on it and glance it into the back of the net, and that was the unique goal, the first goal between the two Irish teams, and we beat them 1-0, which was a fantastic victory. But disappointment as well, because Danny Blanchflower, he resigned after the game. That was around, was it 1979-80? He had to be around
79.
Yeah, so Danny resigned after the game, and that's when Billy Bingham became the new manager, and nobody had any idea of how good a manager he was going to be, because he had been manager before and he came back again. So fantastic second spell for Billy Bingham, who's probably the most famous and most successful manager in the history of Irish football.
Is there a worry then whenever a new manager is coming in?
Yeah, there's always a worry. Same at club level, but international level. Will he like me? Will he think I'm good enough? Will he fancy me? And I'd only just started my career. I hadn't been playing. You don't play many international caps. We did have the British Championships, which was good, and you always got the 3 games every summer before you broke up. But you didn't play many games a year. It was maybe 5 or 6 games, international games in 1 year. Nowadays there's a lot more games. So I was looking forward to obviously Billy taking over, but apprehensive as well as to see whether he thought I would feature. And he was massive for Northern Irish football. He brought in David McCreary and Billy Hamilton started playing, and then he formed a partnership, myself and Billy playing up front, and David became such an important figure in the middle of the park. He covered every inch of grass on the pitch, and he would always nick the ball. He was brilliant at nicking the ball and he played that anchor role in midfield, and he used to nick the ball everybody else. And Martin O'Neill and Sammy McElroy did the other role. And Martin was very comfortable on the ball and a very precise passer, but also could score goals. And Sammy technically was brilliant. He had 2 great feet. Playing at Manchester United, technically he was superb. So the balance in the team was really good at that time, and that was the team starting to evolve. But we lacked experience, and when we started the 1980 campaign with Billy, that's when we all started to get more and more experience and more confidence in ourselves as well.
You're saying now you're apprehensive, but obviously 2 years later, as you started to allude to, you scored the goal against Israel that takes Northern Ireland to the World Cup in '82. What was that moment like, scoring that? Not only that goal, but scoring it at Windsor Park as well.
Well, the whole campaign was difficult because we didn't score many goals, but we were really hard to break down. We were a tough unit, and the big game was before. We had 2 big games before that: Scotland and Portugal. And because Portugal had beat us in Lisbon, we had to beat them in Belfast. They were in front of us in the league. And Sweden, we had beaten them 3-0 early on in the campaign, and we were comfortable winners in that match. Jimmy Nicholl scored fantastic goal, sensational goal from 20 odd yards. But when we went to play them, Sweden away, we thought, well, we're going to get something out of this game. We ended up losing penalty. We got beat 1-0, so it put us under pressure. Then losing to Portugal away in Portugal meant we had to beat them at home, and there wasn't many chances in the game. And we beat them 1-0. Terry Cochran did brilliant. Chased the ball, let Luke get out of play, all hands up, and he stopped it with his right foot, and his momentum took him past the byline, and then he checked and came back and hit it with his left foot. Fantastic cross deep to the far post, and we caught them on the hop, and I came in at the far post and headed it into the roof of the net, and that was the only goal. So then the next game was Scotland, who were top of the group, and we drew with them in Hampden, and we fancied ourselves at home, and it was a real battle, but finished 0-0, and we were so disappointed because I thought we'd blown it, because that night Portugal were at home to Sweden, and we thought Portugal will win and they'll go back above us. Sweden beat them in Portugal, which was a great result, and that meant that our last game was Israel at home, and if we beat Israel, we qualified. There was nothing anybody could do, and it was exciting, but it was also, again, the apprehension. You're frightened in case you don't turn up on the day. And Pat Jennings was my roommate, and he took sick the night before. He had a migraine. We were up till about 1 or 2 in the morning with the doctor, and Billy Bingham was in the room, and he was trying to get me to move rooms, and I stayed in the same room. I said, no, I'll be okay. And then the next day, thankfully, Pat was fine, and we got on and got ourselves down to Windsor and got ready for the game. But even when you kick off, and it was a full house, there was over 40,000 at Windsor. Atmosphere was fantastic, and we were nervous. You can see we were nervous, but we did a routine. It was a crossover routine, and we'd been trying it for 2 or 3 years, and it was a block off. Billy used to be in front of me, and he would be at front, and then he'd turn and he'd spin and he'd come running towards me with his defender marking him, and I would block the defender off so that Billy could get round behind me, get a bit of space, and then he would win the ball in the air, and I would then react to him winning the ball in the air. Anyway, it had never worked for 2 years, 3 years. That was the night it actually worked. So the cross was a crossover, Noel Brotherton and Jimmy Nicol, and the cross came in, and Billy headed it down, and I anticipated where he was going to head it, and he put it just in front of me on my left foot, and I hit it on the volley, flew in the back of the net. And once we scored early in the first half, everybody settled down, and we just did what we're good at. I was saying earlier, we'd score a goal and close up shop. Nobody would get past us. We were really hard. We forced teams to play across the park, and they never penetrated us. So we did that. We closed up shop, 1-0, and the place went crazy. Windsor Park went absolutely crazy. The fans were going to the World Cup finals. I think we did 3 or 4 laps of honour. It was just an amazing night. And as a professional footballer, to play for your country is great, but to play for your country and take them to World Cup finals, that was something you look forward to. It was a goal of all players to play in a World Cup final. So we knew where we were going, and we deservedly had done it. So Scotland and ourselves qualified.
Hi, I'm Warren Feeney, and you're listening to the Northern Ireland podcast.
Well, it worked out well. You scored against Honduras.
I did. That was the first goal. We drew 0-0 with Yugoslavia in Zaragoza, and we should have won that match. The last 20 minutes we played really well. We were frightened of them at the start, and we knew they'd scored 26 goals in qualifying. And I think we hadn't scored 26 goals in about 5 years. It took us 5 years to score 26 goals, so we were worried of them, and we were under pressure first half hour, and then they started to tire, and then suddenly we started to get a foot in it, and in the second half we got stronger and they weakened, and we nearly won it in the end. The second period, the third period we took over, and we could have maybe nicked it, but we settled for the draw. They were one of the favourites. It was Spain and Yugoslavia were the favourites to qualify, and then the next game was Honduras, and we had planned to beat Honduras and look for a draw against Spain. That was the plan. But we scored against Honduras, and it was a free kick, and Chris Nicol got on the end of the free kick and headed it, and it hit the crossbar and came back out, and I was first to the rebound and put it in, and that put us 1-0 up. And we dominated the match for the first 35-40 minutes, and I got another chance. I remember going past centre half and hitting a shot, and I thought it was in the net. The keeper dived and it was past him, and I could see him looking back, and it hit the inside of the post and came straight back into his hands. And I thought, we go 2-0 up. There was no way they were coming back. And then we got done on a set play. It was a corner kick from the right hand side, and there was a guy called Betancourt was their centre forward. He was a good player, and he got on the end of a corner kick that came in, and I think Martin was marking him, Martin O'Neill, and this guy hammered the header, and Pat Jennings left hand straight up top corner and pushed it round the post for another corner, and it was a certain goal, and he pushed it round the post, and they took another corner. Same guy did exactly the same and put it in the corner of the net. This time twice in a row in about 2 minutes. So it was 1-1, and we never got another chance after that. It finished 1-1. We were very disappointed, and we flew back the same night around midnight from Zaragoza back to Valencia, which was our base, to the City Solar Hotel, and we were a bit disappointed, but still looking forward to the big game against the host nation, Spain, in a couple of days. And it looked as if it was going to be Spain and Yugoslavia were going to go through. We couldn't see that. We had to win the match. That was the only way we'd qualify. We had to win the match. And the day before, we were finished training, had our lunch, and then we were allowed to sit by the pool and sunbathe and swim for an hour before we went into siesta. And the boys were all lying by the pool, and Martin, the captain, called everybody over and said, right lads, he says, come on in. And he said, I've been thinking about the game. He said, you know what it's going to be like. The fans are going to get behind Spain. They're going to come at us. They're going to throw everything at us. They're the host nation. He said, so we'll do what we're good at. We'll defend for the first 20-25 minutes. And then gradually we'll get into the game, and we'll get 2, 3, 4 chances. We only need to put one of them away. We'll stick one of them away, and we'll beat them 1-0. He said, that's how it's going to go. I thought, that sounds good to me, But he never told me about Mal getting sent off. That was the other part he missed out. But, the next day, it went exactly the same way. They put us under pressure, dominated the game, and Pat made a couple of great saves. The boy, Lopez Ufarte, little left winger, skipped past a couple and had a couple of shots, and Pat got down and made great saves. And then gradually we started getting at them, because the fullback Cordelio used to push forward all the time. Camacho was the captain, he was the right back, and he pushed on as well. And we started getting a little bit of joy, but it wasn't until the second half, 3-4 minutes into the second half, that I intercepted the pass from Gordillo and went on a run, and a couple of Spaniards tried to kick me and I pushed it out the belly. Billy slapped his way past Tendilio. He just whacked him on the way past and got down the right hand side. And I was going to get into the box, and I thought, he ain't going to get a good ball in the box. Billy can't cross his legs. He's never played across. I'll wait at the edge of the box. And he put in the best cross ever. He put a fantastic cross in. And of course, out came Arcanada, and he made a mistake coming for it, because there was already, I think it was Alasanko was in the box and Camacho was there. The two of them were there, and they got in each other's way, and he handled the ball and pushed it straight out to me. And I came on to it, kept my head down and hammered it hard and low. And it went through two sets of legs. Both players jumped. The goalkeeper spread himself, and I think Camacho put his leg up to block it, and it went under Camacho's leg and under Arganada's legs in the back of the net, and that was the only chance we got, and that was the goal.
Gerry Armstrong, what a worker he is. Striding away there with Hamilton to his right, Norman Whiteside up on the far side of the area. Still Billy Hamilton, he's got past Tendilio. And Arcanada, Armstrong! Northern Ireland have scored through Gerry Armstrong. A mistake by the goalkeeper, and it's the 100th goal of this World Cup tournament, and it could be a priceless one for Northern Ireland. Watch Arcanada, that's not the best goalkeeper in Europe on that form, and Armstrong drives it through him, through the defender's legs, and Northern Ireland have taken the lead. Armstrong has scored both their goals in the tournament. He got the two most vital goals in the qualifiers, and he started the move way back in his own half, and he was on hand to finish it when it came in from Billy Hamilton, who got round the back of Tendilio. Now then, at this stage of the evening, Northern Ireland at 1-0, if it stays like this, would qualify, but so would Spain, and Yugoslavia would be the team to miss out.
What a moment for football for Northern Ireland, but what a moment for you personally as well in that ball.
Oh, I didn't care who scored. It was just a question of we had to beat them, and we weren't going to create too many chances. And Norman was playing all the first games. He was the youngest player in the World Cup, still is. He beat Pelly's record, and Norman was brilliant for like an hour, and then at 17 he was starting to tire a wee bit. Plus in the first game he got booked. He went straight and clattered the Yugoslavian fullback, and he got booked, and Billy was shouting at me, calm him down, I don't want him getting sent off. But Norman was so enthusiastic and determined. He was kicking everything in the boot. So we knew we were going to have to hang in there, because Mal got sent off shortly after the goal, and I think Norman played maybe more than 60 minutes. He played about 65, 70 minutes, and then he took him off. And we had no left back. We, David McCreary, filled in at left back for Mal, and then he brought on Sammy Nelson, and Sammy came on, and I think Tommy Cassidy came on as well. So they came on to freshen it up as such, and Sammy was a natural left back anyway, so he went in there, and we just wasted the clock. There was one moment though, about 90 minutes on the clock, when they tried to break us down and they couldn't break us down, and then somebody lobbed the ball up in the air, and it looked like at 6'3", Chris Nicholl, you thought he was going to win it, but the ball was slightly behind him, and he thought Pat was going to come for it, and Pat was shouting away, and Chris sort of went ahead and then changed his mind, and the ball went over the top of his head and bounced, and there was a big centre forward called Satrustiki, who played for Real Sociedad, and he was a big lad, but he was getting nowhere near it. But Keeney was the top goal scorer in Spain, and he was quick and nippy, and he was going for it. He was first to react, and Pat came and sort of hesitated, and then he came again, and as the ball bounced, Keeney was trying to head it, and Pat, he made it look so easy. He flicked the ball with his right hand over Keeney's head. He flicked it like that over his head, and caught it with the left hand and rolled over and said, "Everybody out, come on." And we were all holding our breath. You hold your breath because it's like 89, 90 minutes on the clock, and I was going, oh no. And he made it look so comfortable and simple. And then he launched it about 60, 70 yards down the pitch. And we just played at the time, and it was 93, 94 minutes on the clock when they blew the whistle and the celebrations began. And Jimmy Hill had interviewed me before the game, and I didn't want to do an interview. I was about to go on and get ready for it, and he said, quick, he says, I'll do a quick one with you. He said, just an interview. He said, I interviewed Paul Mariner yesterday. He said, he scored the winner against Saudi Arabia. And I went, right, all right, well, I'll do an interview with you, Jimmy. Like, you know, so, and Jimmy interviewed us, and then afterwards we'd won the game, and as I was running off the pitch to go and celebrate with the lads, they grabbed me and Sammy Nelson and pulled us in for a dope test. There was 2 players that we selected. So I got pulled in for the dope test, and I had dehydrated so much I'd lost about 10, 11 pounds in fluids, and I couldn't pass any urine for a long time. And the Doc Bomber was with me, and Derek McKinley, the kit man, and me and Sammy. And it was funny because Sammy had only been on about 15 minutes, and he was able to pass urine no problem. I couldn't, and I said, Derek, give me some liquids, and I was drinking as many liquids as I could. But it takes time to go through your system, and Sammy was winding them up in the dope room. Sammy was so funny, he had everybody in stitches, and the doctor, even the 2 Spanish players who were getting dope tests, they were laughing as well, and he kept us amused for a while. And eventually, I don't think I actually even got a shower, because by the time I got there, the boys were all on the coach and wanting to get back to the hotel for the party, and I just put my tracksuit on. I didn't shower, I just ran. I said, I'll shower when we get back to the hotel, and I got on in the big chair when we got on the coach. And when we arrived at the City Solaire Hotel, Jimmy Hill was standing with a tray of champagne for the boys coming off the coach, which was a great touch. And then we went in and the party began.
So you didn't even get to celebrate on the pitch?
Oh, listen, Noel Brotherson was the first person ran to me, because he ran off the bench and he jumped and wrapped his legs around me, and we were all just celebrating. John McClellan, I remember John McClellan running off the middle of the pitch punching the air, you know, because we got through to the quarterfinals.
And he's blown, and Northern Ireland have done it. The proudest moment in Irish football history, surely. They've won the group. Northern Ireland go into the second phase against all the odds. Their supporters celebrate, and my word, rightly so.
Which was amazing when we were underdogs and nobody gave us a chance of qualifying, and then we went, and of course we won the group. Not only did we qualify, but we won the group, which put us into the same group as Austria and France, and it was a different format then. But Austria played France first, and we had a couple of days break, and then we played Austria, and they changed the whole thing. They changed, like, Hans Krankel didn't play. They had 6 or 7 changes. They brought some young players in, and they were fit and they were full of running. And we played well, but the heat was unbelievable. It was 110 degrees in Madrid that day, in the Vicente Calderón in Athletic Madrid Stadium. And I crossed for Billy. Billy hit it in the back of the net, and things were going good. And they were a decent team, but we were well on top. And then they started kicking us and stuff. And we conceded a free kick, and the free kick was deflected in and past Jim Platt. Jim was in goal because Pat Jennings had a groin injury. And then they went in front. I think it was a big centre half, got forward, and the ball was hit at him, and he flicked it through his legs and put it the other corner. So we were 2-1 down, and we came back in the second half, and we got back to 2-2. Billy scored again, great goal, header, and we should have won the match, but 2-2 meant that we had to beat France because France had beaten them. So a draw wasn't going to be good enough for us. And we only had 2 days rest, which meant the French had a longer break. They were better prepared. Good team though at that time with Michel Platini. Trésor was the centre half. You had Didier Cisse, Jaurès, Tigana. They were a bit special. So they beat us 4-1, and that was the end of the World Cup for us.
Of course, you got on the score sheet again, though.
I did. At the end, I got fortunate. Norman did brilliant down the left-hand side, put a great cross in, and I hit it. And I think it took a wee nick off Billy on the way. I think he's still trying to claim it as a good goal. You know, I didn't care at the time when you were going out, but at least we scored. You know, and we got beat 4-1. But it was no disgrace. We did really, really well, and the lads were proud of what we achieved, and the whole of the country was united. You know, we had telegrams after the Spanish game from the President of the Republic of Ireland. We had telegrams from the Reverend Dave Paisley, we had telegrams from Australia, Canada, all over the world. And they were having street parties all over Belfast, which is great. And that was something that none of the politicians could do. They couldn't unite the country like we did. And it showed you sport can really do something special. And we did, in that period we did, and it was great.
Hi, I'm Stephen Cregan, and you're listening to the Northern Ireland Podcast.
What was it like coming home?
They had a civic reception for us at the City Hall. We were the open top bus, which was fantastic. And that was even 3-4 months after the World Cup. You know, the fans and the people all turned out in their thousands. And I was on crutches and I went and watched the game from the stands at Windsor. And Ian Stewart scored that goal against Germany, which was sensational. And we beat them deservedly. We were a real force at Windsor Park. And we went undefeated from 1980 to 1986. That's nearly 6 years of not losing a game at Windsor Park. And the one we lost to Wales, we should have won it by about 3 goals. You know, they should never have beaten us, but that's what happens in football. So that was a great moment. And then a couple of months later, I was out of class and I was back training again and came back and played. And got back just in time for the match. I think it was April. We played Germany away in Hamburg, and it was my 50th cap. And same again, we were under the cosh early on, and then we just got at them. And Norman scored a cracking goal. We beat them 1-0, had another big party, and I don't think any other nation has beaten Germany home or away in any World Cup or European qualifier. We're the only nation I think has done that, so that was a bit of an achievement. And I was disappointed we didn't qualify because we had lost to Austria, and that was disappointing that we didn't do more. And then we beat Austria in the last game, but that, I think, had that somebody else could qualify.
It was goal difference,
was goal difference, but see, the goal difference now and the goal difference then, if it had been what it is now, we'd have went through because we won the head-to-head.
Yeah.
And they had 2 goals, they'd scored 2 goals more than us. I think they beat Turkey 2 or 3-0 in the last game, and we only beat them 1-0 at Belfast. And it was a strange one, but they went through on goal difference. And head to head is now what they would use because we had beaten them home and away. We would have went through.
And then obviously 1986, another World Cup. How much did it mean? You know, at the end of the day, you could have said that team should have and could have made 3 major tournaments in a row. You know, that's how that team was.
We should have made the Euros, definitely. We were good enough to go to the Euros. I thought we were in really good form. Confidence was good. But see, 4 years after the 82 World Cup, another World Cup, you know, Pat Jennings celebrated his 41st birthday on the 12th of June, which was his last game. And it was my last game as well. And I was 32. So the team was aging. And we had just gone a wee bit too far. We could have done better if it hadn't been altitude. I think the altitude was the big killer for us. Not the heat, we were okay in the heat, but the altitude, you know, 5, 6, 7,000 feet above sea level. Couldn't breathe. It was so hard, and you can't get accustomed to it in a couple of weeks. So we went to Albuquerque training, and it didn't really make much difference, you know. The other teams were better prepared and more used to the South American teams. And of course we had Brazil and Spain and Algeria in our group. And I thought just to qualify was fantastic because we had to do it the hard way. We had to go to Romania, who hadn't lost at home in over 20 years, and we beat them 1-0 in Romania. And that meant that the last game was England at Wembley, and we needed a draw, and we got a draw. And that night was amazing. The players were fantastic, and Pat made another 3 or 4 great saves. And Kerry Dixon was playing up front for them, and their shots were coming in from everywhere. They were a good team, and they had already qualified, so there wasn't as much urgency from them, but they were still trying to win the game. And we did what we did best. We kept it tight and didn't give too much away and qualified, which was fantastic. I thought it was going to be difficult for us to qualify again, but that team had some spirit. It really had. It was brilliant attitude, determination, and we had some young players coming through. Ian Stewart was coming through, and there was a lot of changes coming in. Billy had brought some fresh faces in, and it was a special time, you know, to qualify back to back. And then we won the British Championships as well. We've done that. We won the British Championships and still hold the trophy. So it was good. It was a good era to be in. I played 10 years international football for Northern Ireland, And that 10 years was a very productive time for us.
Unreal. And then in 1986, when you do play your last game, was that a moment you knew this is when I'm finishing?
Yeah. I knew before the tournament, I knew Billy very, very well, and he had told me that the team was aging. We'd done well to qualify. Knew we hadn't got another tournament in, but he had to use the next 2 years to bring the younger players in to find out what talent we had. And that was when Colin Clark had come through. And Clark, he scored against Spain when we got beat 2-1. And he was strong, he was a good goal scorer. And you can see the changes coming in, but these players, you need 10, 15 internationals before you know what it's all about. So it takes a couple of years to get 10 to 15 internationals, at least 2 years. So I knew Billy had to do that. And I said, listen, I'm happy. It was my 63rd cap. I played in 2 World Cup finals and had won 2 British Championships. So I said, no, I'm happy, I'm fine. And then he wanted me to coach with him and do some of the coaching. So I helped out with the under-21s and looking for the new talent coming through. And one of them was at Stranmillis, and he had 2 or 3 goalkeepers in. And he said, this young kid over from Linfield. And he said, this has got a lot of potential, this boy. That was Tommy Wright, and he did brilliant. And then we said, you've got to get him over the water. So we contacted Ian McFall at Newcastle, and Ian had a look at Tommy, and Tommy ended up going over, and the rest is all history. So that's how they worked in those days, about trying to get players and keep because we didn't have an awful lot of talent coming through, and you always wanted players from the Irish League to go across and get the opportunity that we had. And it's changed now. Michael's on the ball, he's working hard, and we've got some great young players coming through. Absolutely, and done well, so long may it continue.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the Gala Zone, as we like to call it, with some fan questions. So here's the first.
We question for Gerry Armstrong here. Gerry, would you prefer to play football now or back in the 80s? And also, what about the Green and White Army? Are they the same back then as they are now? Just a wee question. Thank you.
2 things. One, I loved playing in the era I played in because players were a lot more honest and a lot more competitive. Now, the tackling's sort of been curtailed a bit. The players are physically better prepared. The pitches are better. It's the money. The money is unbelievable. What the players can earn now as a player, it's ridiculous money they're getting paid. I think we're all jealous of what the sort of money that the players are earning now, but I'm happy playing in the era I played in. The Green and White Army in my day made a lot more noise. They were unbelievable, but there was a lot more people. I think for Windsor Park, you're talking close to 20,000. At Windsor Park, when I played, it was double that. It was 40,000. And that's probably why for 6 years we had, it was like Fort Knox. Nobody would come and get a result. Everybody hated coming there. Even England, we played England in qualifying for 86, and they were petrified coming over. And we made it happen. We just said, I wouldn't be happy if I was you coming over here, So we really made it difficult for them, and any team came was frightened because their record was so good. And I loved the era we played in, I have to say, and the players I played with were great. There was great spirit.
Fantastic.
And so our next question is from Robbie Eccles, who says, you may find this a hard one to answer. Who is Northern Ireland's best ever player?
George Best, easy. That's not a hard one. George is the most talented player, probably the best player in the world. I've looked at Messi, I love Messi, and I've looked at Maradona, played against Maradona, I've played against Cruyff, I've played against some of the best players, Platini's in the world. But George Best could do it all, and I always wonder if he had stayed in England when he matured at 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, when you hit your peak. He could do it all. Left foot, right foot, tackle, score goals, head the ball. He was exciting. He was brilliant. I'd love to have known what he could have done. And it's a good argument. I argued with Glenn Hoddle a few weeks ago. I was on the phone to Glenn, and he'd said to me, best player in the world for him is Maradona, and always will be. And I said, better than Messi. And I said, look at what Messi's doing. He went, Messi's never won a World Cup. He said, Messi didn't win a league with a club that had nobody else. He went to Napoli and he single-handedly won it on his own. He said, you look at what he's done. And it's good arguments, but I would then say, and plus, Messi didn't get tackled the way that Maradona got tackled. I said, I could say the same. Look at George. George had thrombosis in both legs. He got lumps kicked out. He didn't have the protection. So George Best for me is the best player that we've ever produced. Pat Jennings obviously had 119 caps for do what he's done. He's the best goalkeeper I've ever seen, and he holds the record as the most capped player. And he should be knighted. I think Pat should have been knighted like years ago for what he's put into football. But George, talent-wise, can't touch him.
Do you think a player needs to win those big trophies to be seen as one of the legends of the game?
That's the argument. I think that's where George, unfortunately, he was playing for Northern Ireland. We're not a big nation, so he wasn't on a big stage, a big platform. He never played in a World Cup finals. He never played in the European nations. So, but when he was on the stage for Manchester United, look at what he did. And he did it consistently in a top league every week for Manchester United. But then the pressures on George were greater than any other player had at that time. Nobody was under pressure like he was. And I think a lot of players in the previous 10, or the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years have learned from what's happened with George. They cope with the pressures more, better.
And what was George like? You said you got to obviously play with him on your debut. What was he like off the pitch as well to have as a person that you got to meet who you said was your hero?
His birthday was the day before mine. We're both Geminis, and he was a fantastic character. Brilliant. Him and I love movies, and we'd talk about movies and who was in the movies. He had great memory for I remember that movie, so and so was in it and this one was in it, and we'd sit and talk. And he was quite an intelligent man. He was very talented as an artist, and I met one of his teachers and he told me George was a really talented artist, but brilliant company. You'd always want to be in his company. He was fantastic and fun to be with, but unfortunately he had a problem, and that's what killed him in the end.
Very, very, very sad indeed. Yeah. So next one is another voice note. This one is from Danny, I believe.
Hi Gerry, it's Daniel here. I just wondered if you had a favourite moment for your time commentating on Spanish football. Thanks.
Ooh, tough one. I had a lot of favourite moments. I covered so many Clásicos, it's untrue. And to watch Ronaldo play for Real Madrid and Messi play for Barcelona week in, week out was unbelievable. I loved it when my old club, Real Mallorca, won the Copa del Rey for the first time. I was disappointed when they got beaten on penalties. I think Stankovic missed the penalty that cost them, and they were down to 10 or 9 men at the time against Barcelona. But there's so many good moments. The best game I commentated on about a year and a half ago was the Seville derby between Seville and Real Betis, and it finished 5-3 to Real Betis. That was sensational, I have to say. That was brilliant. But I've had so many good moments over the last 20 odd years on La Liga. It's hard to express. Big moments for Northern Ireland as well. Watching them beat Ukraine in the European nations. Watching them playing in the European nations was something special. And it was nice. I was working for the BBC and I commentated on all the games. That was really enjoyable. But I think I give away who I want to win when Northern Ireland's winning. I'm a wee bit biased.
That's
which is something that everybody laughs at, whenever I did it for Sky, and I'm working at the moment for Virgin Media, and I said, well, you come from Northern Ireland, you're bound to want your own team to win. But I try and stay as impartial as I can, and especially in the Clásicos, but I've just loved the commentary, and hopefully I'll be doing some more in the future.
Sometimes you could think you can be even more critical whenever it is your own country you're watching. Sometimes you feel like you've got a right to be like, oh, they should be doing this, they should be doing that.
Well, I get frustrated, I did the last 4, 5, 6 games for Northern Ireland, and we were brilliant in the 4 games we lost. We played so much good football, but couldn't score. I'm thinking, you got to score there, and we missed chances, but we played some brilliant football, and afterwards, it consoles you a little bit, that you've got beaten, but you played well, and but when it happens 2, 3, 4 games in a row, you get frustrated. And then, of course, the last 2 games we beat Estonia and we beat Belarus. You know, and we played really well and deservedly won both matches. And I like the way the team's shaping up. There's good balance in it. You know, you've got really good experienced players at the back, but you've got talented players, and we've got wide players like Niall McGinn and Jordan Jones, and they create chances. They go past people, and you know, there's lots of good things. And I love what Michael did in the game against Belarus when, you know, it's 1-1 and they've had the deflected goal, and he brought on 2 centre forwards to win it, and they combined together to win it. You know, it was great. And Joyce got on the end of it, and Boise had come on as well. It was fantastic to see your country win like that in the 10 minutes of a game, and it sets it up nice for the rest of the Nations League. I'm looking forward to the games.
But I can't let you go without asking you. We asked all our guests, what's your favourite chippy in Northern Ireland?
Favourite chippy? Oh, cafe fish.
Yeah?
Absolutely, cafe fish up the Lisburn Road. I think that's the best one.
It's growing in popularity.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
Jim Magilton was the same.
Was he?
Yeah, cafe.
Oh, I'll
fish.
tell you what, cafe fish. I mean, Johnny Long's is class. I've been to Johnny Long's loads of times, but I had cafe fish 8-10 years ago, and then I was hooked on it. It is the best. They do the best fish and chips without a shadow of a doubt. But we're fortunate. You know, there's a lot of good fish and chip shops in Northern Ireland, really. So we're fortunate.
How does it compare to Spain?
You don't get fish and chip shops over there.
Don't get that
The
over
best fish and chip shops are when we made them over there ourselves. But no, it's a different type of food over in Spain. It's tapas and vino tinto, which is nice red wine, and the tapas. They get meatballs, and they do the garlic chicken and patatas bravas. You know, there's all different types of Spanish selection, which I do like, and the garlic and bread and stuff like that, and you can dip in.
So there's going to be stuff like that, or a fish supper. What's the
Fish supper's great every so often. Fish supper's great, you know, when you fancy it. You know, it's like once a week a fish supper, do you know?
Well, thank you very much for your time, Gerry.
My pleasure.
It's been absolutely fascinating.
It's been fantastic.
And just to say to everyone, once again, obviously you can watch back all our podcasts on YouTube. You can listen to them on Spotify and iTunes. But for now, thank you very much, and we'll speak to you all again soon.
Okay.
Hasta la vista.
Armstrong! Northern Ireland have scored through Gerry Armstrong.
It's a good ball. The flag stays down. Heaney! Oh!
They scored again. It's Davis again. His job done now.